That clip you just saw was a video that took 5 or rather almost 6 months to finish with figma Guyver II F from the series Guyver, the Bio-Boosted Armor. Have you ever had that series that stays with you, so much so it defines a genre for you, one that you might even consider a classic? Like when you think about detective fiction, you might think of Sherlock Holmes, or maybe even Batman. For me though, when I hear and think about powered armor or a supersuit, I think of Yoshiki Tayaka's 1985's Guyver series. The aesthetic of the Guyver is one of the weirdest and also the coolest armor that I've seen, which really stood out for me. And if I were to describe Guyver, I would say imagine a full suit of armor, except it's alien and has 2 blades or swords, and the ability of Superman like shooting lasers, super strength with a spidey sense. And oh, did I mention it's also a freaking backup drive? The Guyver unit can store up biological data, and if a limb gets chopped off or something, it can just recover from the backup data. And here's a list of other Guyver's abilities. What fascinates me the most is the concept of a bio-organic armor, especially if it's sentient or have a symbiotic relationship with the host or wearer like Marvel's Venom. And in the 1980s, while the West had Venom, over at the East, Japan had Guyver. And when Good Smile released figma Guyver 1 in 2014, and again in 2016 with Guyver II F, I was too late. So I thought, well, that's that. That is until I saw an online listing of someone wanting to let go of both figma Guyver II F. I immediately stopped what I was doing and shoot over a DM basically saying, "I'll take your entire stock!" Fast forward to the creation of this channel, every time I pass by the 2 figures in their display shelf, it always plays out something like this. Damn. I promised myself that I would animate and film them one day. Next time, baby. So I did. And if you'd like to see it in full, links down on the description as well as the iCard. And of the months of planning, testing, animating, troubleshooting, and editing, I want to show and tell you about what it's like filming with figma Guyver II F. So this isn't just a review of figma Guyver II F and the movie color variant. This is a review of what it's like animating with both figma Guyver II F. On the surface and out of the box, a quick look at figma Guyver II F, it looks like it's straight out from the source material. Aside from their color palette, it appears that the 2 figure has no difference in their respective accessories, articulation points. There's no difference in joint use in one or the other. So they're basically the same figure, right?
They're the same picture.
Well, not quite, and let me explain. Both figma Guyver II F are a prime example that no 2 same figures are made the same. But before that, if you're curious about the difference in color scheme, the Guyver II F with the magenta or more pinkish red hue is the manga variant, and the other with the violet with more bluish purple is the movie color variant. It even says so on the box. Now, I'm not saying it's like when live service games sells you skin or cosmetic. No. I'm saying it's exactly like that. Looking at you, Figma Diva and Figma Diva Academy skin version. Now let's get into the details of things. As mentioned earlier, both the sculpt and the framework of figma Guyver II F and her movie version are exactly the same, except for the color. But if you look closer, there is instead a damage control medal on the forehead on the manga version. It's a little spoiler there if you do plan to watch or rather read the series. And if you further inspect it with close eye, you can tell the sculptor did a great job on figma Guyver II F. Speaking of the sculptor, Atsushi Yagi has also notable works such as the first figma Guyver 1, figma Deadpool, and the figma Alien, or Xenomorph. And I can say that the attention to detail, especially on the respirator, is amazing. The hard edges cast its own shadow under certain lighting, and the alien eyes gives off this certain depth in it, especially with light, which looks so good. And after holding it out of the box for the first time, it's clear to me that the 2 figures are made with strong and sturdy material overall. Except for the top antenna piece here, the shoulder carapace-like guard, this thin neck piece, and the hip piece, which are made of soft and flexible material. During filming, the figures did accidentally fall, and it's good to know that they are durable. Additionally, some of figma Guyver II F's components are detachable, meaning they are more likely to snap off safely than having catastrophic damage to your figures, which is great. However, all of the detachable pieces are quite small, especially the pointy sharp bits at the elbow, and the chance of getting them lost is really high, so be careful with that. So the figure looks great and is durable, but what and how specifically has the figure been compromised? Unlike figma Guyver I, it lacks some additional accessories, namely the Guyver unit form that comes with figma Guyver I. But like figma Guyver I, it does come with its own high-frequency swords, which is this thing here. It's sharp, beautifully made, fits on both sides, which is great. However, it's also thin, meaning it's fragile, so keep that in mind. Another aspect I like about these two figures is how easy it is to balance both of them, without any rigs or the stand that it comes with if you're doing some simple poses within reason. So if you're the type or collector or animator who likes to pose figurine as is, this definitely fits in your checklist. However, if you do decide to manipulate and pose figma Guyver II F with a more expressive or dynamic position, you should know that both of them does have certain limited range of motion. Let's start off with the head. There's no articulation points at the neck, so you will have to make do with her head. While this does swivel, it doesn't move very much. As we go down lower to the torso, there's a decent mobility there when animating. You can thank the joint here that allows for double action articulation. On the top side is a ball socket, while the bottom side of the same socket is a ball joint that rotates and swivel that gives you additional reach. But the same can't be said on the lower back, which has no mobility but gives her the height, making her frame appear taller. And with the limited range of articulation on her lower torso, sometimes this can make poses or actions seem mechanical. This will become more apparent if you want to create more exaggerated movement, or in my case, capture many frames that require the torso or lower back to be articulated. On figma Guyver II F's lower half, I found that during filming, the legs will pop out when overextended when doing some extreme kick poses. There are meaningful ways that you can extend its articulation at the knee, albeit in a more crude and janky way. Removing this knee piece here will allow you to do a leg knee extension.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
The real problem though is at the shoulder. On one hand, the range of articulation can get in the way of many awesome poses, and on another, specifically on the movie color variant, can sometimes pop out when you overextend what little range it has. The limited range of articulation can be easily explained because of the ball joint that is embedded within the frame of both figures. So the shoulder on both figures feels like it was never designed for big exaggerated movement, and when you do, it tends to pop out of the socket. However, I found that the shoulder of the movie version has a more oval shape compared to the manga version, which can explain why it keeps popping out like this when doing basic articulation at the shoulder. Despite having the same joints, the movie variants seem to have a weaker shoulder because of the slight difference in shape, which is why I said these two figures are a prime example that no two same figures are made the same. However, the manga version has her own sets of fallback. If you, or in this case, I don't regularly articulate on both shoulder often, they can get quite stiff after a while, which makes this click sound like they're too tight after not being played or moved after some time. So it's a good idea to pose it differently from time to time. But if you can look past the limited range of motion or articulation in figma Guyver II F, or isn't looking to do any extreme poses, this weird alien looking figure is perfect for you. And as a fan of this series and concept, I really wish I can tell you that this figure can do a lot more, but it's clear to me during filming that this figure is made for form over function. That means it's great if you found that one pose that you like and never wish to change it. But if you do decide to manipulate over a significant amount of length, you'll find yourself exhausted relatively quickly, as I did, when it doesn't want to articulate the way you want to. So I've given it much criticism, and it does sound like I don't like my purchase.
What did I buy you for? To make me sad?
But this is my favorite alien armor type of genre. I just wish there's more ways to highlight Guyver's many abilities from the source material. They could have been represented with additional attachment or accessories, but unfortunately, they are all that we have to work with. Both figma Guyver II F are by no means bad figures. They are certainly not the greatest figures, but nevertheless, if you're someone who is into the Guyver series, or like me love this weird looking extraterrestrial aesthetic, figma Guyver is a great addition to your collection. And that's it. If you enjoyed this review, remember to toss a like on this video and get subscribed. Also, remember to check out figma Guyver 2 in its full action stop motion. I used quite a bit of it in this review and it took several months to make, so go check it out. Links down in the description and in the iCard if you haven't yet. As always, I hope you have a great day or evening. Take care and thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time.